I used to love Fridays. Every other week, I'd pick up Noah from his elementary school in Charlotte, North Carolina, and the weekend was ours. We had a ritual: swing by the donut shop for a chocolate glazed each, then head home to build the newest Lego set he was obsessed with that week. The little guy would chatter nonstop about his friends, his favorite cartoons, the plot lines he was making up for his minifigures. His laugh was the soundtrack of my week. 2 months ago, it all started slipping. At first, it seemed minor: cancellations, little excuses. Noah's not feeling well, Emily, my ex-wife, would text at the last minute. I called the school nurse. He'd been perfectly fine that day. Then came the next excuse: family emergency, can't make pickup. I saw her the next day at the grocery store, pushing Noah in the cart, both of them smiling and joking. It was subtle, almost easy to dismiss, but the tension in Noah was unmistakable. On the rare occasions he did come over, he wouldn't run to the car anymore. He barely made eye contact, clinging to Emily at the door, looking like he was scared to breathe. The first time I noticed the strange comments, my gut twisted. "Daddy, maybe you don't want to build Legos anymore," he said, softly, like he was testing me. Testing me for what? I didn't yet realize. Emily was the master of timing. Every text, every small manipulation came right before my scheduled pickups. I tried to stay calm, rational, called her, asked why she kept canceling, reminded her of the custody schedule. Her responses were the same: feigned innocence, fake sympathy. "I know it's hard for Noah, but you understand, right?" And just like that, she positioned herself as the protector and me as the absent, uncaring parent. I remember one night I found myself sitting in my car outside her apartment complex at 7:45 p.m., waiting for her to answer the door. I had called twice, no response. Noah was inside, probably wondering why his dad was outside like a stranger. I felt the weight of every mile I'd driven for him, every moment he thought I didn't care. My chest ached in a way I didn't know existed. Then the messages appeared. Noah's tablet, left in the couch cushions after one rare visit. Notifications popped up, Emily coaching him word for word. "Tell Daddy you're too tired to visit," one read. "Say he doesn't care about you anymore. Practice. I don't want to go." Dozens of them, stretching back months, perfectly aligned with every missed weekend, every canceled visit. I sat there, hands shaking, scrolling through the evidence of a betrayal I hadn't been prepared to confront. The realization hit me like a freight train. My son was terrified of me, convinced I didn't want him, because the one person he trusted most had convinced him it was true. And the thought that this was only beginning made my stomach turn cold. I loved this kid more than anything, and I had no idea how to reach him anymore. The following weeks were brutal. Every scheduled pickup felt like a test I was destined to fail. On the rare days Noah actually came to my place, he sat stiffly on the couch, clutching his tablet like a shield. His eyes darted around the room, never settling on mine. The kid who used to chatter endlessly about the Lego worlds we built now whispered, "Daddy, I don't think I want to play today." I tried everything. I suggested building a spaceship. "Maybe just a small one," I coached, keeping my voice calm. He shook his head, muttering, "Mom says I'm too old for toys like that." That sentence hit me harder than any argument with Emily ever could. This wasn't just stubbornness, it was brainwashing. My son's memories, his excitement, even his imagination were being overwritten with guilt and fear. Emily's tactics became more insidious. She started scheduling last-minute doctor appointments and extracurricular activities during my custody time. When I called to clarify, she'd sigh, exacerbated, as if I were being unreasonable. "Noah asked for this, you know. Don't you want him to do what he loves?" She never mentioned that Noah had told the child psychologist later that he'd never asked for these classes. I couldn't prove it yet, but I started documenting everything: texts, emails, call logs, screenshots, timestamps, notes about each visit, each canceled pickup. I reached out to Noah's school counselor and pediatrician, hoping someone else could see the pattern I was losing sleep over. The counselor noted that Noah seemed anxious whenever the subject of the weekend came up, and often claimed I had other plans when I hadn't. The pediatrician confirmed he hadn't been sick on the days Emily had used as excuses. Each new piece of evidence was like a puzzle falling into place, horrifying in its clarity. The emotional toll was crushing. I woke up in the middle of the night, heart racing, thinking about Noah crying, telling me he didn't want to see me. I replayed our past weekends, the way he used to squeal when he saw the completed Lego city, the inside jokes, the chocolate glazed donuts, and my chest ached knowing he was being systematically convinced that I didn't care about him. I felt powerless, and every attempt to reach him seemed to reinforce Emily's narrative. One evening, after yet another canceled visit, I sat on the couch in my empty apartment, staring at the half-built Lego castle from a previous visit. The little plastic bricks seemed almost mocking, remnants of a bond I couldn't hold on to. I scrolled through the tablet messages again, each one a carefully crafted lie. Daddy doesn't care, you should stay with mommy, tell him you don't want to go. Noah had been following instructions, word for word. I could see why he looked so guilty and afraid. He wasn't just sad, he felt he was betraying the only parent he had left in his corner. That night, I made a decision. I couldn't just show up and hope for the best anymore. I started taking meticulous notes, every call, every excuse, every canceled visit. Screenshots of texts, call logs, dates and times of pickups, photos of me waiting outside her apartment. I contacted my lawyer, explained the situation, and began gathering the evidence needed to take legal action. The goal was clear: prove what was happening before the damage became permanent. Even as I prepared for the legal battle, the hardest part remained Noah himself. When he did speak, it was with caution, carefully measured words. I guess I can build the spaceship, he said once, but his hands trembled as he picked up the pieces. I had to fight back tears, knowing this small act of trust was the first flicker of hope in months of darkness. It was a gray Thursday when my lawyer finally told me we could file for emergency relief. The last few months had been a blur of cancellations, guilt-laden texts from Noah, and sleepless nights wondering if I'd permanently lost him. We compiled everything: screenshots, call logs, school and pediatric records. My hands shook as I handed over the folder. It felt like holding a lifeline in paper form. The court ordered supervised visits while the case was pending. The first day, I walked into a sterile room at the Family Services office and froze. Noah was there, sitting across from me at a small table, legs swinging, clutching a worn action figure. He barely looked up, and when he did, his expression was cautious, calculating. It felt like meeting a stranger who had my eyes and my laugh. "Hi, buddy," I said softly, trying to keep my voice calm. "Want to build a spaceship?" "No," he whispered, barely audible. "Maybe later." His thumb twirled the figure's head, nervous energy spilling out in small, fearful movements. I tried again, suggesting a smaller project, a single vehicle, instead of the city-scale builds we used to tackle. He nodded faintly, but kept glancing at the supervisor, as if asking permission to exist. The supervisor was kind but firm, taking notes on every interaction. I could see Noah's anxiety radiating in waves. The way he bit his lip when I tried to explain something, the tiny shivers of hesitation before reaching for a Lego piece. It broke me, watching him silently internalize fear that had been carefully instilled by Emily. Every word he spoke seemed measured, rehearsed, as if he were constantly calculating how to survive the visit without angering me or betraying his mom. Outside the visits, I kept gathering evidence. The school counselor documented Noah's statements, how he often said I was too busy for him, repeating phrases Emily had coached him on. The pediatrician provided records confirming he had never been ill on the claimed days. It was beginning to feel like the pieces were lining up, but the emotional damage was obvious. Noah didn't just resist coming to me, he feared it, associating it with guilt, confusion, and potential punishment. One afternoon, during a supervised visit, a small breakthrough happened. Noah picked up a Lego piece and hesitated. I kind of want to make a robot, he admitted, voice barely above a whisper. My heart leapt. Of course, let's do it together, I said, trying to sound calm, normal, like nothing was wrong. For 10 minutes, he smiled, explained the robot's backstory, even laughed softly when a piece didn't fit. But then, eyes flicking toward the supervisor, he suddenly stopped. Maybe I shouldn't. Mommy would be mad if I like this. I swallowed hard, knelt down to his level, and whispered, "Noah, it's okay to enjoy this. Liking Legos doesn't make you disloyal. You can love me and Mommy too." He nodded slowly, uncertainty in every movement, and returned to his pieces. But it was tentative, fragile. After that first week, the supervised visits became a routine of small victories and setbacks. Some days he barely spoke. Other days he cautiously smiled or explained his Lego stories, testing the waters. Each moment felt monumental, a tiny reclaiming of the bond Emily had tried to erase. At night, I lay awake thinking about him, about how manipulated, terrified, and conflicted he must feel. The psychological toll on Noah was enormous, and I feared it might leave scars that would last far beyond this custody battle. Yet every small step forward, every brief smile, every whispered, "I missed you, Daddy," reminded me why I had to fight. Emily's moves became more subtle and more calculated. Instead of blatant cancellations, she started filling Noah's weekends with overlapping activities: soccer practice, art classes, guitar lessons. Every time I objected, she would sigh dramatically, as if my concern was unreasonable. "He wants this. Don't you want him to have fun?" she said, eyes glistening, phone in hand like a shield. Noah, predictably, nodded along. At 8, he wanted to please, and he didn't yet understand whose wishes were real and whose were scripted. Despite her maneuvering, the supervised visits slowly began to show cracks in her narrative. Noah started opening up in small ways. During one afternoon, we built a miniature Lego city, carefully connecting buildings and streets. He whispered, almost to himself, "I forgot how fun this is." His voice was hesitant, guilty, like he wasn't supposed to enjoy himself. I smiled, heart swelling. "It's okay, buddy. We're allowed to have fun together." These moments, though brief, were critical. I documented every word, every smile, every hesitant laugh. My lawyer called it the breadcrumbs of progress, evidence that Noah's bond with me hadn't been erased entirely. Yet every small victory was mirrored by setbacks. Emily would call the evenings after visits, her tone heartbreakingly soft. "Does Daddy treat you okay? Are you sure you're happy?" The questions weren't innocent. They carried guilt, subtly reinforcing the idea that enjoying time with me meant disloyalty. I sought help from a child psychologist specializing in parental alienation. Through play therapy, Noah began expressing feelings he couldn't yet verbalize. He drew pictures of 2 houses, one dark and one bright, and whispered, "This one's scary. This one's where I like to be." When asked which was which, he pointed to my house. But his voice wavered. "Mommy would be sad if I stayed here too long." Each session revealed layers of fear, guilt, and confusion, but also moments of clarity. Noah was beginning to remember that he could love both parents without betraying either. One day, the psychologist asked him to draw a family scene. Noah sketched 3 stick figures, himself in the middle, me on one side, Emily on the other. Both adults were tugging at him. "I don't want to break," he said softly, tracing lines between us with trembling fingers. It was heartbreaking. The weight of loyalty conflicts Emily had imposed on him was almost palpable, but he was saying it out loud. He was admitting the conflict existed, and that awareness was the first step toward healing. Even outside therapy, I noticed small signs of Noah reclaiming his autonomy. He began answering questions about school honestly, without immediately defaulting to scripted responses. He started showing interest in little routines we used to share, asking to help with dinner, offering to set the table, quietly choosing a movie to watch together. Every time he initiated something, it was a victory, a tiny reminder that beneath the fear and guilt, the little boy I knew was still there. Still, the tension between hope and setback was relentless. One evening, after a promising visit, Emily called, her voice teetering on panic. I feel like he's slipping away from me. You're taking him from his family." Noah's eyes, wide and confused, darted between us. He didn't know what to think, didn't know whom to trust. I stayed calm, explained that he could love both of us, that enjoying time with Daddy didn't hurt Mommy. But the seed of doubt Emily planted was hard to erase. Each day became a balancing act. I celebrated Noah's small victories while bracing for the next storm. Every smile, every whispered admission of missing me felt monumental and fragile. I had to fight to protect these moments, knowing that rebuilding trust after months of manipulation would be slow, painful, and full of setbacks. Months of documentation, therapy reports, and carefully logged incidents finally converged into a legal strategy. My lawyer filed an emergency motion, presenting school records, pediatric notes, screenshots, call logs, and the psychologist's preliminary evaluation. Each piece of evidence painted a clear picture. Emily wasn't just interfering, she was systematically alienating Noah from me. Court hearings were surreal. Sitting in that packed courtroom, I felt both powerless and resolute. Emily, perfectly composed, portrayed herself as the devoted mother, concerned and exhausted from the distress I was causing Noah. The judge listened patiently, but as my lawyer presented the evidence, Noah's own words documented at school, therapy notes showing coached statements, timelines of canceled visits, the weight of reality became undeniable. The psychologist's report was damning. It described Emily's manipulation in explicit detail, coaching Noah to reject me, emotional blackmail, creating loyalty conflicts, and rewriting memories. It also documented Noah's fear, anxiety, the guilt he carried for enjoying time with me, and the tangible psychological toll. Reading her words, I could see the child I knew trapped inside fear and confusion, his personality warped by months of deliberate lies. The judge ordered supervised visitation to continue, but also mandated the start of reunification therapy, a specialized program designed to repair alienated parent-child relationships. Emily was required to attend co-parenting classes and individual therapy to address her manipulative behaviors. For the first time, it felt like the system recognized what I had been trying to prove for months. Even with the court's intervention, the emotional toll on Noah was visible. During the first reunification session, he arrived with downcast eyes, shoulders tense. When the therapist asked him to choose an activity, he quietly said, "Can we build a robot?" tentatively. I smiled and nodded, encouraging him. For 30 minutes, he laughed softly, explaining the robot's backstory. Then, eyes flicking nervously toward the supervisor, he froze. "Maybe I shouldn't. Mommy would be sad if I like this," he whispered. I knelt beside him. "Noah, it's okay to enjoy this. You can like building with me and still love Mommy. Loving both of us doesn't hurt anyone." He nodded slowly, uncertainty etched in every movement, but he continued. The moment was fragile, fleeting, yet monumental. That was the beginning, the first glimmer of Noah reclaiming the freedom to feel joy without guilt. Outside therapy, Emily continued her subtle interference. She sent texts during my custody time, framed as concern. "I hope Daddy is being nice," or "Don't tell him everything you do at Mommy's, it might upset him." Noah would show me the messages, confusion and worry flickering in his eyes. Together, we blocked direct contact, routing all communication through a monitored co-parenting app approved by the court. Even as I celebrated these small victories, the fear of setbacks loomed constantly. Court orders could only do so much. The psychological damage Emily had inflicted required patience, empathy, and consistency. Every smile, every hesitant admission of missing me became a reminder of why I had to fight, not just in court, but every single day with Noah. That first week of reunification therapy ended with a tentative victory. Noah voluntarily chose a Lego project, shared ideas, and laughed quietly. It wasn't the boisterous joy of old weekends, but it was him, Noah, coming back to me, step by step, brick by brick. It's been months since the court intervened, and the difference in Noah is subtle but unmistakable. He still hesitates at times, still glances nervously when I suggest a game or a Lego build, but the fear that once dominated him is slowly giving way to curiosity and joy. Our evenings have started to feel like hours again. One night, he asked if we could build a space station together. The first few minutes were cautious. He carefully placed each piece, eyes flicking to see if I approved. Then, without warning, he laughed. A full, uninhibited laugh, the kind I hadn't heard in months. I froze, fighting back tears, feeling the weight of everything we'd been through and the fragility of this moment. Reunification therapy continues to be critical. The therapist helps Noah separate what he genuinely feels from what he thinks he should feel. Slowly, he's discovering that enjoying time with me doesn't hurt Emily, that he can love both of us without being disloyal. There are setbacks, of course. Emily still texts during visits, framing questions to create doubt. He sometimes shows guilt for smiling or laughing, whispers about Mommy being sad if he enjoys himself. But he's learning to voice his feelings, to assert that it's okay to like things just because he likes them. Even ordinary moments carry weight now. Cooking dinner together, he hums a little tune while chopping vegetables with my supervision. Setting the table, he tells me, "Daddy, can we make a fort with the chairs later?" Simple, mundane things that once would have been ordinary are now milestones, proof that our bond is slowly repairing itself. Emotionally, I'm learning patience too. Every day is a balancing act, celebrating small victories while guarding against setbacks. Some nights, when Noah falls asleep on my shoulder while watching a movie, I feel both relief and heartbreak. Relief because he feels safe. Heartbreak because it took so long to get here, and because I know the road ahead is still long. Court orders and therapy have stabilized the situation legally, but the emotional work is ongoing. Noah's laughter, curiosity, and tentative trust are fragile. Emily's influence lingers, subtle and insidious. But with each supervised visit, each therapy session, and each small moment of connection, Noah is reclaiming his childhood. We still have Lego cities that stretch across the bedroom floor, nightly storytelling sessions, and the quiet comfort of shared routines. Each moment is a testament to resilience, his and mine. The past year was a nightmare of fear, manipulation, and heartbreak, but in these small victories, I finally see the light of hope. Noah is coming back to me, piece by piece, brick by brick. And for the first time in a long time, I can breathe again, knowing that while the battle isn't over, the bond we share is real and unbreakable. If you liked the video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.